Okay, I'm going to do Algebra 1 end of course review, number 1. I'm going to do parts 1 and 2 on the same video. What I did was I went through and I did all the work for each of the problems, and I'm going to talk about what I did. If you did the problem, you got the right answer, move on to the next one so you can get it done more quickly. Alright, so number 1, it says find the length of the missing side. The work is right here. So we squared the first side, we squared the second side equal to c squared. I did the math. I got the square root of 45 is equal to c. I broke that down into square root of 9 and square root of 5, so I ended with 3 square root of 5. So that's what your c value is. So it's letter C. Number 2, they asked for the cube root. Cube root is 3 numbers that multiply together to give you 8. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. That's where I got the 2 from. 2 plus the square root of 36, which is 6. 2 plus 6 is 8. Okay, number 3. Number 3, it says which expression is equivalent. So when you're multiplying bases, you're going to add exponents. So if you add what's here, 4 plus 5 is 9. And I add that, I got 20. I added 9, 4 and 3, I got 7. 7 and 2, I got 9. That's the same as what's in the expression. So my letter is C. Number 4, it's absolute value. So with absolute value, you're going to do 2 problems. Okay, so we set the first one up that is equal to 5. And I set that second one up, which is negative 5. And I just went ahead and I did the math and I solved for equation. And x is equal to 4. And I did the same thing over here. I added 3 to both sides and I got a negative 2, and I divided by 2 and I got x is equal to negative 1. And that's how I got that answer there. Okay, number 5. It looks like I didn't do number 5. So number 5 I need to do. Well, let's go ahead and do it together. We're going to multiply. So we got 4x minus 2 plus 10 is equal to 3y plus 4. So I got 4, I guess that's a y and not an x. 4y plus 8 is equal to 3y plus 4. I'm going to subtract 3y from both sides. So I've got y on this side. And then I'm subtract 8. So my y is equal to negative 4. And so it's letter B. Okay, so I forgot that one. Okay, number 6. Let's go down here. Let's scroll down and find the work for number 6. Okay, we're just doing distributive property. And then remember, order of operations is multiplication, division, then addition, subtraction. So I'm going to multiply first. I'm going to multiply this first. So I multiplied, and I got 4 minus 6x, and I keep the 5, excuse me, and I get negative 2 plus 4x. Then I move all the x's on the right side and all the numbers on the other, and I get 1 is equal to 14x. So if you're not sure what I did, kind of look at that and make sure you got the right answer. Okay, number 7, I highlighted the important things. It says the total cost in dollars of renting a trailer for n days is given in the equation. That's in yellow. And then if the total cost is 300, how many days was the trailer rented? So we plugged in the 300 there. So we plugged in the 300, and then we had 60 plus 15n. I subtracted the 60, divided by 15, and I ended up with 16 as my answer. Alright, next page. Alright, let me see. Number 8. Number 8 is right here. I put my parentheses in. Then I did my cross products, and I'm looking at the examples over here, and that's what they did. And then I have my 21n minus 28, and I subtracted the 5n from both sides. I got 16 minus 28 is equal to 5. Then I added 28 to get 33, and that's where they made their error. they ended up with negative 23, so it's step 4. Number 9. Number 9 is talking about a piece of rope. And it says there's a 60-foot piece of rope. That's where the 60 came from. 3 pieces. I put 3 lines to represent each piece. It says the first piece is twice as long as the second. The third piece is 3 times as long as the second. What is the length of the longest piece? So we don't know what our second is, but we're comparing everything to it. Okay, so then I put first is 2 times the second, and the last is 3 times the second, so it's 3x. Add those together at 6x, divide that by 6, and I get 10, and I plugged it back in, and I ended up with 20 is the first. Darn, sorry, I gotta get rid of these things. Alright, hold on. Okay, then I got 20, which is the first piece, 10 is the second piece, and 30 is the third piece, and it's going to be equal to 60. So my longest piece is 30, and that's where letter D came from. Okay, that was number 9. Number 10. Again, I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible as I can for you. Alright, on this one, we are going to get the x's on one side, numbers on the other. So I put the 7 over here. So I got a 5. Then I divided by a negative 5 both sides. But remember, when you do that, you must flip the sign around. So the sign must be flipped. So that's where I got x is less than negative 1. Okay, number 11. Okay, if it's no line under it, it's solid. Dashed. If there's a line under it, solid. So I'm looking for a problem that has a line in it because it's a solid line. So that's where I got rid of the B and the D. And then if it's on the y is on the big side of the y, it's above the line. And if it's the y is on the little side, it's going to be below the line. So the y, this is shaded above the line, so I'm looking for the y that's on the big side. So here it is. So that's letter A. Okay, next problem. And again, if you need to stop and study what I did, then stop and study and see what I did. And then if it's not clear to you, come to me with your questions before school, during class if this is Monday night, because our test is on Wednesday. Alright, the next one. Which of the following is the correct graph? So I'm looking for a beginning point of negative 4, and my slope is positive. So this is a positive slope, positive slope, positive slope. This is a negative slope, so I'm going to get rid of the D. The D will not help me. I'm looking for a negative 4. This is a negative 4. This is a negative 4, but this is a positive 4. So I got rid of this C and the D. Okay, now I need to see which is the slope of up 2 and over 3. Up 2 over 1, 2, 3. This one is, looks like it's up 2, 3, and over 2. So it's going to be letter A, because I'm looking for the one that's up 2 and over 3. So it's up 1, 2, and over 3. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So it's letter A. Okay, next problem. Number 13. If you're trying to find the y-intercept, you make your x 0. If you're trying to find your x-intercept, you make your y 0. In this case, it says to find out what the x-intercept or the y-intercept is. So I made my x 0. I divided by negative 2 both sides, and I got y is equal to negative 1. That's how I got the B. Okay, which point lies in the line defined by, and here's the equation. Here's your x values, your y values, and what you need to do is you need to plug each of these in or substitute them in for the x and the y until you find one that is true. So I chose the second one. I did the first one in my head. I chose the second one to write down. So then I had 8 minus 2, which is 6. They're equal to each other, so that's where I got letter B. Okay, number 15. Okay, at number 15, the problem says, what is the equation of a line that has a slope of -3 and passes through the point 2, -4? So y equals mx plus b form. So I'm working over here. I got my slope of -3. I'm going to plug in my x and y value, which they gave me was x is 2, y is -4. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and just do the math. I've got a 6, and now -6 and -4, add 6 to both sides, I get b is 2. So I'm going to take that 2 and plug it back in, and I got -3x plus 2. So that's why I got letter A. Okay, number 16. What I did with number 16 is I highlighted, I took the difference between 62 and 47. I found that that was 15. I found the difference between 77 and 62, and I found out that was 15. From 15 to 20, that's 5. And from 20 to 25, that's 5. So my y values is on the top. So I've got my 15 on the top, my 5 at the bottom. 5 will go into 15 3 times. So that is my slope. I've got a slope of 3. So I look and see there's 2 choices I have here that have a slope of 3. Not B and not C. Then I need to figure out what is my B. So now I'm going to take an ordered pair, and I chose the 47 and the 15. So I plugged in H as 15, and my C is 47. 3 times 15 is 45. I subtracted 45 from both sides. I got my B as 2. So therefore it's letter D. Number 17. Number 17 is parallel lines. Parallel lines have the same slope. So my slope is 2 over 3. I look at my choices to find the 2 over 3, and the only one that's going to work is letter C, because that has a slope of 2 over 3 right here. Okay, the next one, that was number 17. Go back up to 18. Okay, I am looking, I need to go through, and let's go see. Oh, sorry. Alright, let me see where let me find one. Okay, so what happened was I just misnumbered. This is the work for number 18. What I did was I took my y and I moved it to the other side, and then I took my -2x and I moved it to the other side. So I ended up with y on this side, which is less than or equal to 2x, because I moved that to the other side, plus 3. That's my first equation I'm working with. The second equation I'm working with is, come on, get away from there. I'm having a hard time with this. Okay, is moving the -4x to the other side. So now I have y is greater than 4x plus 1. Okay, I'm looking for a solid line and a dashed line. I'm looking for 2 positive slopes. So it's not A, because those are negative slopes. It's not C, because those are both negative slopes. So then I have my D and my B left. Okay, so I know that the solid line is shaded below the line, and the dashed line is shaded above. So if I look at D, my solid line is shaded above, so that only leaves me letter B. So B is my answer. Okay, number 19. Number 19, the work is right there. It is a substitution method. So I substituted the -x plus 9 where I see y. I went ahead and did my distributive property. I added my x's together, and I have -27. I'm going to add 27 to both sides, divide by 4. I got my x is equal to 6. Looks like it's going to be A. I'm going to check my answer. I'm going to plug my 6 into where I have an x on the first equation, and then I've got y is equal to 3. Alright, number 20. Number 20, I have my work over here. It's a elimination method. I'm going to eliminate one of the variables. I'm going to eliminate the b. I've got a 4b here. I need to make this a negative 4b. I'm multiplying everything by negative 2, which I did. I eliminated. I added that together to get negative 7a. And I put that together to get a negative 28. I divided by negative 7 both sides to get a 4. Then I take that 4 and I plugged it in to figure out what my b was. And my b is negative 2. So it's letter C. Okay, again, if you need to stop and study what I did, stop and study what I did. Okay, number 21. It's a subtraction problem, so there is an invisible 1 in front of the parentheses. So we're right here. There's an invisible 1 right here. So I'm going to do a distributive property, changing the signs of everything that's inside of there, so it becomes a negative 3x, a positive 7x, and a negative 5. Okay, then I went through and I combined the x squares to get a negative 2x. We have a negative 7x and a positive 7x. Those canceled. Then I have a negative 2 and a negative 5 to get the negative 7. So I have my answer. It's letter B. Okay, number 22. 22, I've dealt with the numbers first, the 9 over 7 first. I got 1/3. Then I dealt with the x to the 8th and x to the 12th. I subtracted 8 minus 12, which is negative 4. Don't want a negative, so I put it in the bottom of my fraction to get 1 over 3 x to the 4th, and that's how I came up with letter D. Okay, number 23. There you're factoring. You just need to do the x. So first times the last, that's how I got the 24. Middle term is negative 10. Two numbers that add together to give me a negative 10, multiply together to give me a positive 24. They're both positives. So one choice could be the x minus 6. They didn't ask for both, they asked for one. Okay, going back up to 24. On 24, the work is here. I'm going to move down a little bit. Okay, at the top one, we're going to factor the top, and I'm going to use the x in the box. So that's what I did. Oh. 24. Okay, that's what I did right here. I did my x in my box. So I ended up with 2x plus 3y and x minus 2y, and that's what I ended up with, right? Let me find my cursor. Okay, that's what I ended up with right here, the top over here. And then I did the bottom, I factored the bottom, and I ended up with this right here. So that's at the bottom, and then these two things canceled out, and I ended up with that as my answer. So that's where I got number 24. It should be letter B. So I had to make a correction because there was no right answer, so I had to put 4x at the bottom, so we're going to call it letter B. Okay, the next one, we've got 25. Okay, the work for 25 is right here. Again, the top, we need to do our x in the box, which I did over here. So I ended up with 3 on the outside, 2x plus 1, and x minus 2, and at the bottom it's a difference of squares, so it's 2x plus 2, or x plus 2 and x minus 2. These two canceled, and I ended up with that as my answer, and that's how I ended up with letter D. Okay, that's 25. 26. We need to factor the top. We're going to factor the bottom, and then we're going to factor the top here. Can't be factored, but the bottom is a difference of squares. Now we look to see if things can be canceled, and this was canceled, and that was canceled. The 3 and the 9 can cancel to give me a 3. I put 1x plus 3x is x to the 4th. That's where that came from. You keep the 3, and at the bottom you have those two terms left. So that's where you ended up with letter D. Number 27. Number 27, you do the FOIL method for the top and the FOIL method for the bottom. So I went through and I multiplied everything, and I ended up with this right here. Then I combined all the like terms. So 4x, negative 3x, that's how I got 1x. These two stayed the same. And then at the bottom, I multiplied and I got this, and I combined like terms, and then I got negative 2x. And if I look at my answer choices, it was letter C. 28. Again, you might want to stop and study. Okay, so we have if x squared is added to x, the sum is 6. So I went ahead and I put it in a trinomial form where the x squared is first. So I went x squared plus x is equal to 6. I moved that over to make it a negative 6 to make a trinomial so that I could factor it. And so I used my x, don't need my box. I found out that it's x minus 2, but I set it to 0 to find out that x could be 2. And I found out that x could be negative 3, and that was my answer choice for B. Number 29. Okay, 29 is a difference of squares. So when you do a difference of squares, you take the middle term and you divide it by 2. So 2 will go into 4 how many times? And it's 2 times. What you do with that answer is you square it. 2 times 2 is 4. That's what you get. That's what you need to add to both sides when you're completing the square. You take the middle term, you divide it by 2. Once you get the answer of 2, or whatever answer it would be, square that answer. So it's 2 times 2 is 4. That's what you add to both sides to complete the square. Okay, number 30 is the table problem. And our table is, let me find where I did my work. I think I moved it over here. And there you go. There's the table that we're going to work with. Alright, so I set my table up. We have the amount, percents, and totals. We talked about water. Water has 0%. And so I'm going to multiply, and I got, let's go ahead and fill this out. So x is the amount of water we don't know. It's 0%. We have 12. I gave that to us. It's a 30% salt solution. What we're going to make is going to be x plus 12, because it's at the bottom. It's a plus problem. It's 20%. These are multiplication, so it's 0 times x, 0.30 times 12, and 0.20 times x plus 12. I don't like decimals, so I got rid of my decimals to make it 30 times 12. I don't need to worry about that 0 anymore, because 0 we don't write. I got rid of that decimal to make it 20 times x plus 12. I went ahead and multiplied. I subtracted the 140 from both sides. I got 120. I divided by 20 into the 120, and I got my x is equal to 6. And that's how I got the 6 kilograms for our answer. Again, stop it and study if you need to. Okay, number 31. 31's work is down here. Okay, Sam's average driving speed for a 3-hour trip is 45 miles per hour. During the first 2 hours, she drove 35 miles per hour. What was her average speed for the last hour of the trip? So information that we know. We know that the first 2 hours, she drove 35 miles per hour. That's where these came from. We don't know what the third hour was. She did a total of 3 hours. That's where the 3 came from. And she traveled 45 miles. So when you do average speed, you add all the values together and divide it by 3. That's where that 3 came from. Alright, so now I've got 70 plus x over 3 is equal to 45. Don't like fractions, so I multiplied both sides by 3. And I've got 70 plus x is equal to 135. I minus the 70 to get her third hour was 65 miles per hour, letter D. Okay, next one, number... Move this over a little bit. Okay. Okay. Oh, come on. Oh well, I didn't turn it off. Sorry, you heard my complaining. Okay, the next one, we're going to find the range of the fraction shown on the graph. I put the order pairs for each of the points. Remember, the range is the y value, and all the y values are -1, -2, -3, -4. So it's letter A. Number 33 is right next to it. Sammy is solving the equation by using completing the square. What would be the next correct step using the method? So she put it so that that the A and B were on one side, the C was on the other. She needed to divide the middle term by 2, which is what I did here, and then she squared it. So 2 will go into 8 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. She added 16 to both sides, and she ended up with x squared minus 8x plus 16 is equal to 13, and that's why it's B. Okay, number 34. Okay, which is a solution of the equation. So now we have our equation. I looked at doing the x, but I couldn't come up with two numbers that multiply together to give me 9 and added together to give me 12, so I knew that didn't work. So my next choice would be to do the quadratic formula, and I wrote it here for you. We found our A, B, and C. I plugged in all the values, and I did the math. Okay, so on this one, looks like it got erased a little bit. So I did all the math. I took the square root. We have the square root of 180. Well, that's not a perfect square, but I broke it down into the radical 36 and radical 5, because 36 times 5 is 180. And then I took what's the square root of 36. We got 6. I kept the radical 5. And then the last step, what I did was I simplified. 18 will go into 12. Well, 6 times, because 6 times 2 is 12, and 6 times 3 is 18. I did the same thing. 6 will go into 6 one time. So I ended up with a -2 plus or minus radical 5 over 3. And that was your answer choice for 34, and it was letter C. Okay, we're almost done. It's not as fast as I wanted it to be. Okay, 35. Okay, so if I look at 35 over here, I did the math. I multiplied. I got positive 8. 8 times 5 is 40. If you get a positive answer, it's 2 solutions. A negative answer, there's 0 solutions. And a 0 answer, it's 1 solution. That's using the discriminant of the quadratic formula. So right here, we use that to find out how many solutions or how many roots there are in a quadratic formula. Okay, number 36. It asks for what value of x, or values of x, is y is equal to 0. Well, y is equal to 0 is right here on this line. So where does it cross that line? It crosses that line at positive 4. It crosses at, positive 1, 2, positive 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, -4. And that's where that came from. That's 36. 37. Again, we're using the discriminant to find the roots or the number of solutions. We found our A is 1, our B is -3, our C is 9. Plug them in. Did the math. I got a -27. That's 0 solutions or no solutions or none. So it's letter A. Okay, 37, 38 now. Okay, my 38, the work is done right here. How many times does a graph intersect the x-axis? It's the same type of problem. You're using the discriminant. So we got our A, B, and C. 25, and it's negative 8. Negative 8 times 3 is 24. We add it together, get 49. It's positive. It's 2 solutions. Okay, 39. 39, they give you the equation to use. I'm going to go ahead and circle that for you. It's right here. This is the equation we're going to use. I highlighted the important things that we need to have. We need to know that t is equal to time in seconds. Well, seconds is what they're asking us to solve. So we're going to solve for t. Describe the distance of an object travels that is projected straight down with initial velocity, which is v, feet per minute, or per seconds. So our 14 is our v. That's where that 14 came from. The 92 is the standing on the roof. So that's our s. So we have our 92, which is s, our velocity, which is v. We don't know what our t is. That's why we haven't filled those in, and they gave us the 16. I'm going to go ahead and write it in quadratic form. So I got 16t squared plus 14t minus 92. They're all even, so I'm going to pull a 2 out, and I've got 8t should be squared plus 7t minus 96. I'm going to use a quadratic formula to solve this, because if I did the x in the box, I don't want to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the quadratic formula. I believe it'll be easier. So I got my a, b, and c. So I plug them in to the values of my quadratic formula. I did the math. Got my negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 152. And when you do this without a calculator, you're just going to have to guess and check to see what you might end up with. So we got the square root of 39, because 39 times 39 is 1521. I divided 16 will go into 32 2 times. Remember, there's a plus or minus. So then I did the other one. But I got a negative 46 and a positive 16. You can never have a negative in a velocity or seconds. So my answer is 2, and that's how we got our letter A. Okay, the very last one. We have the height of a triangle is 5 inches greater than twice its base. So if its area is 75 square inches, what is the base of the triangle? So first of all, you have to know what the formula is for the area of a triangle. Area of a triangle is equal to 1/2 base times height. I drew a picture of the triangle. I know that the height is 5 inches greater than twice the base. Well, here's my base. I'm going to call base x. Twice 5 inches greater than twice the base. So now I'm going to plug it into the area, because we know the area is 75. That's where that 75 came from. 1/2 base is my x. My height is 2x plus 5. I plugged that in. I cross-canceled the 2 to just get x squared. And I multiplied 1/2 times 5, and I got 5 over 2x, and then I moved the 75 to the other side. Okay, I still have a fraction. I wanted to get rid of it, so I multiplied everything by 2, 2, and 2. So I ended up with 2x squared plus 5x minus 150. Okay, so you might want to stop that and really look and see what I did. I plugged this all in to this equation here. So that's where the x came from, right here. And this came from right over here. That was my base and my height. Then I went to multiply this. So I cross-canceled to get x squared. I multiplied this with 5, so I got 5 over 2x. And then at the end, I subtracted the 75 over here to get everything that's in red. I then decided I want to get rid of the fraction, so I multiplied everything by 2, 2, and 2. So I got 2x squared minus 5x minus 50. Then I said, okay, maybe I can do my x and my box. Oh, hold on, I did something wrong, so I'm going to go back and correct it, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I discovered I made an error. So it's be the first times the last, which would be a negative 300 at the top. And then add together give me positive 5. So 20 and 15 gives me a negative 300, negative 15, positive 20. I make my box, I place them in the box, I factor. Okay, I place them both to 0, and I do the math. I cannot have a negative in area, so, or length. What am I trying to find out? I'm trying to find out the base. So I can't have a negative in a base, so I know it's not the negative 20. So I took 15 divided by 2, I got 7.5. And unfortunately there was no 7.5 over there, so I changed letter C to 7.5. I think I might have did that on your copy. Alright, it wasn't as fast as I wanted it to be, 35 minutes. Please watch it. I hope you did. Study what you need to study, ask questions that you need. This is on a grade on your report card, so do your best. It's a lot, so take your time and do well. Alright, thanks.